Gemini. Oh, let me get your sign. So what I'm doing is past life. Where in the world did you live once? A long time ago readings. And where in the world is your... Okay. So if you're feeling a little lost or alone, it might be a starting point for you to do some research into those cultures or those places. Or if you're having memories and you can't quite place it, it might jog your memory, ring a bell maybe. But you've had many lives. You are an ancient soul, of course. But we're just going to be talking about this one. It's not totally comprehensive or anything. It's just this particular life, what you learned in that life is relevant to what you're going through now. Or the strength that you're pulling from in whatever situation you're dealing with right now comes from the wisdom that you've gained, that you've earned from lifetime to lifetime. And so what I did was just pull tiles with letters on them and then put the first few into Google Maps. And for Gemini, we got... Oh yeah, this one. Oh yeah, this one. Gabes, Tunisia. So the past life that we're going to be talking about goes all the way back to biblical times. Okay, so you were one of the Athenian warrior women culture. So it was a culture of very strong women. And according to Herodotus, which, I don't know, this is what he said, that they were known as the people of the lotus eaters. Okay, they were known for being so fierce that the Apostle Paul was doing everything he could to avoid hitting the coast there. And they crashed into Malta instead. Okay, so fierce people, fierce women. What they used to do, according to Herodotus, was he called it a very violent ritual. It was a coming-of-age ritual for women. And they would divide the young women into two teams, and they would set them out to fight each other with stones and clubs. To honor Athena, I guess. And if they die, they were false versions, and they had no honor. So it was a warrior woman culture that you were born into, or that you birthed. But what you did in particular in one of those lives, I think there were several in that culture. You were a designer, but not like a clothing designer, what I'm getting. And with the Tower and the Eight of Pentacles, the message kind of is that you made a killing off war, off of other people's war. You made them look real good, in war. So it's like, back in World War II when they were designing uniforms, that sort of thing. It's like you made the most gorgeous warrior uniforms, not just for the girls in your culture, but I think all over Northern Africa. But something happened, which to this day you're the kind of person that demands to get paid what you're worth. And it's because something happened where you were taken advantage of in this life. So it was a betrayal to you because you were an honest, hardworking, fierce, well-known designer. So you had graduated from making clothes for yourself, for your family, for the community, to the powers that be. their troops uniforms. Okay, because a tale of two neighborhoods here tells me that someone was trying to downplay what you were worth, what your work was worth. I feel like you used to particularly work with a king and a queen. I'm getting the area that would be Morocco now. Okay, so not totally your neighbor. It wouldn't have been a culture that y'all were friendly with, but you were doing business with them and you did good work. And that king and queen always paid you what they owed you. But it's like a son took over here and he didn't have the same ethics and standards that his parents did. Okay, and so it was like promises, promises, promises to pay you. You would make these incredible uniforms. The troops would be wearing them and dying in them, stuff, and you never got your money, and you held out and you held out until finally you decided to go and stand up for yourself. Because that's how you were taught since childhood, right? You stood up for what's right. You were a warrior. And so you traveled to that kingdom to go speak to whoever the new king was. Okay, and he was one of those military leaders that was just all sword. Okay, it was just, he was a hammer and everything was a nail. But he was also vain and selfish, so he wanted the best outfits. So he wasn't going to let you just stop when they already had this standard for this is how their warriors show up, and it's so. But so when you do what you do now, you make sure you get paid for it, and you make sure you get paid in advance, and you almost have a second sense about you when someone's going to cheat you in whatever it is that you do. Okay, and that's because you learned the hard way. You should have showed up probably with like 10 of your guys, but you went alone thinking, I'm an honorable person, you're an honorable person. Where you came from, you didn't lie. To be dishonest was dishonorable. You'd rather die where you came from than do that. So you weren't expecting to show up and just be killed instead of getting your money. You thought at the very least he'd send you away and you'd have to go the legal route. But what ended up happening was he just decided to not pay you, not deal with it, and that was it. And so what I heard was that some people say that you're cheap or that you're a penny pincher, or they make derogatory terms or say derogatory things toward you, but you know who you are and you're exactly who you need to be. Okay, so if there's people that try to get you to work for free, you won't do that. If you're young right now and you're an artist and it's all this, you can, get your work seen if you do it for free for us. No, that doesn't work for you. You've been there. You've done that. You've already had the life lesson, the wisdom that there are those that have no ethics. You don't show up to a meeting where you don't trust that person 100%. You've learned to incorporate your business sense, okay, your compassion for yourself, which is what this life is all about, okay? So part of your self-care in this life is already avoiding the communities, the type of people, or the elitists that you know will never honor you by paying you what you're worth. So you have a sixth sense about where not to waste your time, and where not to waste your money, and where not to waste your loyalty. And so if there's anything where you might start second guessing yourself, this is a reminder not to do that. Listen to your intuition. Your business sense is your business sense. Don't let anybody bully you out of what you're worth. Okay, it's like Trixie Mattel said, whatever you're selling, okay, you take what you think it's worth and you double that. And if people don't want to pay that, then you don't work with them. Okay, this is not the kind of world anymore where that crooked king can just come in and kill you instead of paying you. So part of your self-love and your self-care is just really, from now on, if you're not sure where to turn, if you are feeling alone, wherever you are right now, know that your self-care involves a supportive community that knows your worth. They'll love you, they'll honor you, they will be as loyal to you as you are to them. So if you are a creative or a producer, and you're in a community where you don't feel like you will be honored, or they will be loyal to you, or you can feel people starting to turn on you or wanting to attack you because they feel entitled to what you do or how you are or who you are. Recall back to that life so long ago where you were raised to stand up for yourself. Everyone else might have seen it as a violent ritual, but that's just because you were women. If it was men, they wouldn't think twice, right? So remember back to that. It's a warrior woman culture that you helped birth, okay? And I'm hearing that you did fall in love and you give birth to, I'm hearing, peoples who became communities which became nobility of Ethiopia, Morocco. So there's a Jewish Berberism in there too. So I'm not sure if you know that you have a Jewish heritage or Berber heritage or African heritage, but you do. Warrior woman heritage, which is why you don't let anyone punk you to this day. Good for you. And before I let you go, they want your guardian angels want you to know that there's been some contributions to society that you even use that you didn't know came from you or your daughters or your sons. And that is something about religion itself, the way you sing in church. So something traditional about hymns. It could be there is a traditional hymn that you sing to this day or that you hum and you're not sure where it comes from. And it goes all the way back to ancient Tunisia. Or there is a hymn that's been kind of passed on, and it's re-emerged in modern society, and you have no idea that maybe it came from you. Maybe you wrote that hymn, or your daughter's son did. Another thing that came from you is something that is worn in fashion to this day, was literally invented by you. Like you were the first one to invent this. And again, it says carried or worn by a pirate. So I'm thinking, like, since we were talking about you being an incredible designer for warriors, I'm guessing that it would be like an overcoat or a sheath. Or it's one of those overcoats that you see in fashion that pops up every once in a while, like pirate shirts. Like, I think you might have been the originator of one of those pieces. That there's two cultures in particular that you would see this in their traditional wear. Can I get more on that? That's interesting. I love this. Art in the... Oh. Teacher. Oh. Oh, I get it. Okay, so you weren't... Sorry, I'm slow. You weren't just designing for the soldiers. You were designing for the officer class. Oh my God. And so... when you see officers getting their stars in the traditional military, what do you call it when you're honoring military officers? Something like that they wear that literally came from one of your original designs. Oh, that's wild. And so there was the officer class that you designed, and there's a cape too. So it's like when they're being really, really fancy, there's something they put on. It's like a cape, something with the garb, where it's not for all of the ceremonies. It's for the very top class ceremonial something. It's like you designed a cape, you designed a sheath, you designed a shape. That's really cool. And what else? And there's you gotta be kidding me. Okay. You were very influential, whoever you were. You were like Coco Chanel, but in Tunisia. So there's a department store that you go to, and it could have something to do with North Beach, or it's on a beach, or it's up north. And the layout is based on your original store. So you're like a founding father of fashion, like in general, not just officer class and soldier wear or warrior wear, but the way clothes are marketed to people after coming from the tailor. Something to do with the tailor. What about that? That's interesting to me. Something about the way it's pret-a-porter. Oh, wow, that's really cool. Something about how you had your actual apprentices, your actual tailors working in the clothes store to help actually fit the people. Did you know you... That's really amazing. So you were one of the original people who not just came up with these designs, but who incorporated employing your tailors in the shops so that the people could get the perfect fit. And there are lots of places where you could go shopping that come full circle back to you. This could be something that you went to school for, or you were thinking of going to school for. But it's not about the fashion. It's not about the sewing. At this point, it's about self-care. Wherever you are in your journey, you're just settling in to getting paid and expecting loyalty. It's like people need to make an appointment to come see you. And you don't want any problems. And you get the money up front, or you get a deposit up front. And you don't take any sass. So if you were wondering why you are the way that you are, this is amazing. Because you're amazing. Okay? North African queen, warrior, man or woman, this is so cool. I'm glad I got to get a peek into that. All right, so self-care, self-love, community that's loyal to you, and you take no mess, and love yourself for that. And see if you can zero in on what that hymn might be. That sounds really familiar or like a lullaby to your soul. Or you could look up Jewish Berberism, Tunisian queens, or, like I was saying, the Gulf of Gabes, which is still there, okay? The people of the lotus eaters. Jara. Yeah, Gabes, Tunisia. Who knew? Cool. All right, I'm going to leave it there, Gemini. I'll see you for the next one. Bye-bye.